Hi, partners. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on our stream today. We have our next partner conversation going on, and we're excited that you're here to join us. So not only today are we going to help you learn and grow as an instructor, but our goal is also to inspire you, and we have a really great conversation. My name is Maria Hernandez. I'm the community moderator. You may have seen me reply to some of your posts and seen my posts in general. I am a real person, and I'm excited to engage with you guys today and share this conversation. So one of the things that I've heard a lot in the community and seen your posts about are, I had a student sign up and they disappeared and I don't know what I did. I don't know how to get these students engaged. So I'm excited to introduce you guys to one of our incredible partners that will be able to tell you his strategies that he uses to keep his students engaged. So we're going to introduce you to Tony Slate, hailing from Houston. Welcome, Tony.
Hi, everybody.
So Tony has a bachelor's degree in arts education, and he's a certified American Sign Language instructor. So how you doing today, Tony?
I'm doing great. I'm coming off of a cold, but I'm doing good.
Oh man, it's going around. It's going around. Everyone's getting that funk a little bit. So a little bit more about Tony. He's a high school instructor. So he's been teaching for a while. Has 90 students, over 90 students in the high school system. And then you also do private lessons here with us here at TakeLessons, along with group education, group lessons. And one of the cool things that I was really excited about for you to share your successes is your own students are becoming teachers.
Yes, yes. I have several that are. And I've had some go and major in interpreting, and actually, I'm blessed to have one of my former students come back and teach with me at the high school. So we're building this program together.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really exciting. Well, great. Well, why don't we find a little bit more about your background? What is it that got you started? Why did you start to, or why did you become a teacher, I should say?
That's how it started.
That's awesome. That's really great. So you specifically, you are an American Sign Language instructor. What drew you to become a teacher in American Sign Language?
I'm sorry, what?
What drew you to become a teacher in American Sign Language?
Well, my senior year in college, I went on a mission trip, and typically when someone says, "Why are you signing?" Do you have family that's deaf? Is your best friend deaf? Well, for me, I don't have any of that. It was strictly the Lord, and I went on a mission trip to Scotland, and on the last leg of the trip, there was a deaf couple there in the church, and they were sitting on the front row. It was mail call. And I noticed that the woman was using her voice, and it was a funny voice to me at the time. And that interested me. So I walked over to her and I asked her, I was like, "What's your name?" And she just motioned. And I guess I was slow, but I was like, "What's your name?" And she motioned again. And I don't know what I did, but I didn't leave her until I found out what her name was. So what she did was she started teaching me the alphabet, which is British Sign Language. And at that time, I didn't know that it was different in every country. So I started learning um, the alphabet. And right then and there, I spelt out ow, and that's how slow it was. how long have you been a Christian? And she said, 17 years, very happy life. And then from then on, she called me her best friend. And so I kept learning and learning. I learned more vocabulary, and then ended up going back 5 summers and staying with them and working with the deaf in Scotland. And then along the way, since it was my senior year, it was too late to change my major. So I took whatever ASL classes I could take in college. And my ASL teacher told me, he was like, you are really good at this. And you're using it in a way that's different than others. And because at that time I was using it in the community. And she said, I want you, do not give up on this. God has a big plan for you. And I had no idea, because my first teaching job was teaching art. And then it was my second year that God just put everything in place for me to start an ASL program at this small school. And so that's how it all started. And it really started with the feeling of, I hated the fact that they were being left out, that they were sitting there feeling alone and no one was talking to them. And, and that's why I teach as many people as I can, because, you're making a difference when you do that. Most of the time, deaf people are thinking, wow, you're taking the time to learn my language, because most hearing people expect deaf people to read lips. And, well, you're not going to read my lips. Okay, I'm going to move on. When, we need to come together. And so I help bridge that gap between deaf and hearing people.
That's wonderful. That's really, really great. So American Sign Language, it's your calling, it's what you came to, and it's now your career. It's what you're doing to educate people around there. So as you've come into this calling, if you're at a networking party and someone says, give me a 10-second intro of what you do, how do you tell them in the 10 seconds what a difference you make?
I tell them it's kind of twofold. I say, I teach American Sign Language to help bridge the gap between the deaf world and the hearing world. And at the same time, I'm in a Christian school, so it's a platform for me to disciple and mentor people and into the way, to grow up to be great students and people in the community and, following a Christian lifestyle.
That's wonderful. Well, thanks for that introduction and that beautiful story. Now all of our people that are here joining us live right now, a special hello to Edna and to Francesca, who are joining us live today to learn all about this. We've got our little party crew here. Applause, as Tony would say. I've been fortunate enough to get to experience your class as a student, which is part of why we thought it'd be really great to have this conversation with you today, and especially for teachers that maybe are a little bit newer to educating, might not have that full background yet in putting together an incredible lesson plan. This is for you today. So the big question, Tony, how many lessons do you go into without a lesson plan?
Never. That's a disaster. I think it's probably happened maybe a couple of times in the 20 years. But I know that never works well, even with a substitute. Like, I try to leave some kind of plan.
So in learning, in your developing, you've been a teacher for 21 years, so you have a beautiful background in education. What are some of the ways that you found that were least effective when you first initially started putting lesson plans together for yourself?
Well, for high school classes, when I first started, it was awful. I would teach all day. I would get home around 5 or 5:30. I would grab whatever food was in the refrigerator, and I would grade papers and then work on lesson plans and, just do overkill that first year, just really trying to do the best plan possible and do what I was taught. And by the time it was 10 o'clock, I was like, good gravy. I got to get up and do this again tomorrow. And, I had that same dialogue with myself every night. 10 o'clock comes, like, I had no life. So over time, I just learned to I just learned to perfect it and take some stress off myself, and also just do a good lesson plan without having to do actually, all the things that some things that they teach you in college, is really not necessary in your lesson plan. So just kind of leave that out.
What would you say out of what you were told in college? What was the one thing that you're like, okay, absolutely not, never going to use that?
Um, I'll have to come back to that.
Well, it sounds like you've really come up with a great system, a great strategy for putting those lesson plans together. So now in your expertise, when you're making those lesson plans, what do you use? What's your format? How do you get started?
Well, I do. My aunt is a teacher, so she taught second grade for I think 35 years. And when I first started, she told me three things, and I think with all the experience I've had, these three things have held up well. One, you tell your students what you're going to teach, you teach them, and then you tell them what they learned. And basically, if you stick with that, that's a great starting point for brand new teachers, for someone that's like maybe they're teaching private lessons and they, never had a formal education class, but they have a passion for teaching, and all they need is kind of like the right tools. And I think a really good tool is to start with like a basic lesson frame like that. Those three things. Like, here's what you're going to learn, go through it, and then, hey, this is what you learned, and just kind of recap.
Great, great. And that works for any subject. So, we have every subject under the sun available for our teachers that they do teach. So, guys, this definitely works for anything along the lines for people planning their lessons. So when someone comes to you, if they're asking that, they're putting together you're telling them what you're going to teach, you teach it, and you tell them what you've learned. How do you put your curriculum together with that?
Well, that is, excuse me, your curriculum, you want to look at your whole year or your whole subject and what you want to cover and where you want to go. So here's point A, and you want to be here by the end of this 9 weeks, 12 weeks, school year, whatever platform you're teaching in. And so go from beginning to end and then work backwards. And to get here, you have to be here at the midpoint. And then to get here, you got to be here at the quarter point. So kind of break it up into quarters. That's going to help you and the student to really be productive. And once you have those benchmarks and you hit those goals, you're going to see more success, and you're going to see that, especially those mini checkpoints, which is actually your lesson plan. But when they see that they're reaching goals, then they're going to be more likely to stay with you and see, oh, wow, when I first started, I couldn't even do this, and now I can do this. And you're saying I can go, sorry, you're saying I can go here, and like, yes, so I think, and if you're in a, whether it's a language or anything that has like ASL 1, level 2, level 3, you do the same thing. So level 1, you want to be done, you want to be here. And level 2, we're going to start here and move to the next plane. And you just do the same process again, just more challenging.
Right. And it makes it really obtainable for you as an instructor to put something together that makes sense, but also for that student to be able to really look and say, here's what I'm trying to achieve.
Right.
That's wonderful. So, it's a very streamlined process that makes it really easy for a teacher to put something together like that. What do you use to measure that success? How do you know it's working?
Well, the tests and quizzes, obviously.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, we had a little disconnect there. Tony's back. Sorry about that. There we go.
All right. Tests and quizzes, and also conversation for my my subject, American Sign Language. So it's very interactive and hands-on, and we'll go through some vocabulary and grammar. We'll put it together, and we have a dialogue. And if we're communicating fine, then it's working. We don't understand each other, then we need to back up.
That's the nice thing with languages, and music is another example. If you're playing those chords or students able to strum that rhythm, you can see the measurable achievements there, and it really gets a student excited when they know, oh, this is cool. I'm doing something I didn't know I could do.
Right.
That's awesome. That's really, really great. So you have your curriculum down, you have your lessons, you're able to measure your success with your students that are interacting with you. How do you keep those students coming back each time and just wanting to take lessons forever?
I believe firmly it's about building relationships. And you have, I've been in schools where, you see a couple of teachers, you're just like, why are you teaching? It's certainly not for the paycheck. And then, I just think about every teacher I ever had and the relationships that were poured into me. For example, when my grandmother died, I can't tell you how many teachers were there that were there for me. And my first grade teacher was there, and she said to me, she said, I remember you would call me as a first grader. And I said, I did? And she said, yes. You would ask your nanny, can I call my teacher? And I would call her, and she told me at that time, that I just needed a mama. That I would say, hi, Miss McCollum, how's your day? Because I said, what did we talk about? She said, well, you would just ask me how I was doing. And I realized that you needed a mama. And over the years, I've had teachers that have just poured into me, and they built relationships with me. And those are the teachers. Not only do I remember what they taught me, but I remember how much they cared for me. So that's why I teach, and that's how I think that's how I know students come back, because I really do care about them. I care about people, I love people, and I love teaching. And, I thought it would be I didn't know how it would work online, but it's working just fine online, that care and compassion and encouragement that you want for your students to succeed, that transfers right through a computer, no problem.
So it sounds like you initially were a little bit nervous about that online, that you wouldn't have that personal connection. What was the point that you're like, oh no, this is going to work. I can teach this way. Was there any moment that kind of stood out for you to be an online teacher?
No, I think it was just trying it, and when I did, I remember my first one-on-one student. I don't know, I just kind of, after the lesson, I thought, man, that was fun. And I had given her the same kind of encouragement and goals to set for the next lesson. And then my first live class, I realized, I can't just, it's the same thing. I can't just go into an online class and not have a relationship and not connect with these people. I mean, it's the same. So there wasn't really a point. It was just actually doing it and having fun. I have a blast with it.
That's great. So you got out of your comfort zone and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to do this. And it's ended up working out really, really great for you.
Yeah, this has been, doing this right here has been the most nerve-wracking than doing my live classes.
Well, I am absolutely in the same boat with you. So I'm glad we could share this experience together. So we're going to look and see if we've got any questions going on here. I have Katie, my beautiful assistant, to help us out. And let's see what questions we're getting from the community.
Thanks, Maria. Actually, we only have one question so far. Edna Bloom wanted to know if Tony uses a goals sheet or a syllabus or any of those kinds of materials for students.
Sorry.
Yeah,
did you write it down? So Edna would like to know if you use a goal sheet or a syllabus when planning out your lessons and planning for the students.
Yeah, absolutely. I have I have my curriculum and then my lesson plans, and then I have a syllabus that I follow. So if I know if it's one-on-one, I can look at where they want to go, and um, sometimes it depends on the student. Uh, I will give them that syllabus that they'll know. We want some people want to just learn things just for fun, and then some people are really serious about it, and I'll give them a syllabus and say, okay, I'm going to hold you accountable to these things. This is what we're going to do every time we meet.
Awesome. That's great. That's really great information and feedback for them. Cool. Did we have any other questions? I don't want to miss anybody. All right. Thanks so much, Katie. All right. So we know how to put a lesson plan together. We know what curriculums and goals we want to set for your students. For our teachers today that are listening, what types of resources can you recommend for them if they're needing a little extra help to put their plans together?
Before I answer that, I want to tag one more thing on.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I do ask the one-on-one students what are their goals, and I get them in the goal writing process as well, because some people have never learned how to write goals, and so I help them with just, okay, this is what you want to do. Like some will say, I want to be an interpreter after 10 lessons. Well, sweetie, that's not going to happen. And so you just have to give them a reality check and say, now, if you want to get here, let's do this. And I help them write those goals too, and it just helps them to internalize it. And as opposed to me just saying, here's your goals, this is what we're doing. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And we know Stephen's told us all the time, goals are so important, especially of where you want your business to be. You've got to set those goals so that you can really achieve them.
Yes. Now, for resources, there are two resources that I like to tell my first year teachers. I'm a department head at our school, so I'm in charge of all the languages. And I usually give this as a gift. One of them is The First Days of School by Harry Wong. And that book it's a great book for a beginning teacher, a seasoned teacher, someone in between. I have a copy. I've always had my copy, and then I always give a copy to my new teachers. But you can read it, you can just go through and pick the chapter you want to read. If you're struggling with classroom management, you can go to that section. If you want to know how to really construct a great group project with some strong rubrics, you can go to that section. If you want to learn how to open your first day of class, there's that section. So it's called The First Days of School, and I just really recommend it to all teachers. And then another one is the Fundamental 5, Framing the Lesson. And that's a really good one for, it's really geared towards like a high school class or a college class where you have many people in the room, but you can totally use it for one-on-ones. And I think that one is a really good one as well.
Great. Those are great recommendations. And I think we have the links to those books. We'll share that with everyone so that you can look back at the chat and see which books that Tony recommended here and use those if those feel like they're a good fit for you and will be helpful to you. So I have another question for you from Diane. So she asked, have you ever gotten together with any of your online students?
Gotten together?
And to meet someone that you hadn't met before.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got students all over the United States, so and a couple in Canada. But this is funny. There's one person that I teach, and I knew she was in Houston. I just didn't know where. But I was at Kroger the other day, and I heard someone say my name. Are you Tony? And I turned around, and it was this woman, and she was like, "Are you Tony Slate?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You teach my daughter on TakeLessons." I'm like, "Oh." And I mean, they live right around the corner. Didn't even. So I had my TakeLessons shirt on, And so that
Oh,
she knew who I was. So that's
oh, that's so cool.
oh, and I did invite her to the first her first deaf social, which
Oh,
was,
wow.
we I started one here in the southwest area of Houston about 8 years ago. And so once a month, all the deaf in the area come together. And she came to that one, and her mom was there, and her brother, and she just loved it. She's like addicted. She wants to go to the next deaf social because she got to meet so many people.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a small, small world.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Great question, Diane. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So those books, great resources. Thank you for those. Is there anything else that really stands out that you would tell any educator of something that they should be aware of as they continue to grow as an educator?
I just think if you're passionate about what you do and you love people, kids, adults, that's just going to shine through. People are going to see it. And, um, if you start to lose that, then you need to maybe do some things to help you get your fire back. But, um, about lesson plans in particular and curriculum writing, look, you can look online or look in your local, like, school district or your region. They may offer some classes on curriculum writing or lesson planning, and sometimes they're free and sometimes they're pretty cheap. Um, but I say, take advantage of those and really, invest in yourself and always look for a way to be better. Always look for how can I've done this lesson a million times, how can it be better than the last time? Always look for ways to just improve yourself and stay on the edge.
That's great. Would you recommend that some educators get their own mentor if they don't already have one?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I would say even above all that, be coachable, be willing to learn from other people. And, I'm one of those weird ones at school. Like, we have to go to workshops and keep up with our CEUs, and I love them. You know, my wife's like, oh, another workshop. And I'm like, oh, yes, I love it. I, she's an introvert and I'm an extrovert, but I also love networking and finding people, and just talking about, the ASL people in my area, the ASL teachers in my area, we do get together, pretty often, and we use social media to stay in touch, and we share ideas and share what's working, what's not working. And for the online platform, I think it's good to network with them too and find someone that's been around the block and ask them, you know, uh, pick their brain, or just flat out ask, would you be my mentor? That might take a lot of time on your part, but you could set some parameters and work with that person. But just be coachable and be willing to learn and strive to be better.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Tony. Those are really great inspirational words. I'm going to see if we have any more questions here. Let's see. This question here. Do you have tips for reaching out to that mentor? So you mentioned asking someone to be your mentor. What's the best way to reach out to that person or to ask them?
I say just send them an email or a phone call if you have their phone number, but I personally would be fine with an email. In fact, I've been asked in the past, and I've always considered it an honor to help someone along, because I still have people that I, consider them my mentors. Um, but yeah, I had to do a lot of that my first year, 2 years of teaching. You got to reach out, but I would personally be fine with an email.
Okay. All right, great. Does our community have any other questions that we want to ask Tony? See what pops up here in our chat.
We don't have any more questions at this time, so if you have anything that you'd like to ask Tony about curriculum or reaching out to potential mentors or anything like that, go ahead and put it in the chat box.
All right, guys. So yeah, any other questions you have, this live stream is going to be available to watch after the fact. So any questions that you have, just keep chatting them in there. Tony and I will answer your questions throughout the day as they come through. This has been such a great conversation, Tony. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. If you guys get a chance, Tony's a wonderful person to take classes from. If you want to be inspired, he's a great person to work with. But we really thank you for your time and all the knowledge you shared with us today.
Thank you, and thank you to all of you and what y'all do behind the scenes and making this possible. And just thank you for all the support. And I love Take Lessons.
Well, we love you too. I think this love, right? It looks like we have a question that came through. Perfect. What do we got?
So actually, Raina Mystique would like to know, do any of your students have a goal of interpreting for concerts?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Could you repeat the question?
Do any of your students have a goal of interpreting at concerts?
In my high school classes, I have a couple. And online, I had one. And it was one of those situations where she just disappeared. I don't know where she went.
So it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Awesome. We got another question?
Yes. Edna would like to know how Tony got interested in doing group lessons on TakeLessons.
Perfect. How did you get interested in teaching group lessons with our life program?
Well, that goes to Keenan. a phone call and a chat, and it just kind of went from there. And I was very interested in doing that. So,
What's been one of your favorite parts about teaching in that group setting online?
I love how, ASL is very interactive. So I love how I can still put two people together and have them have a dialogue, and I can watch that and see that happen. So I like it. I like the platform.
Cool. And I can say from experience, I also like that interaction. It's actually pretty cool to be able to sign with someone that's on the East Coast while I'm here in San Diego.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, I don't want to miss any other questions. Thank you again so much for your time, Tony. You guys, check out the stream later on if you have more questions. Definitely let us know what you think and your feedback, and we'll be doing this again next month. So thank you, Tony.
Thank you all so much.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Okay, you too.